Today we're making a psycho killer, which is a cocktail almost as crazy as it sounds, so you're going to want to stick around. If you're a theater fan who loves a great cocktail, click that subscribe button because Broadway Barfly is the channel for you. Hello folks, Rob Dreemeyer here. Welcome to Broadway Barfly. A few weeks ago, a friend and I went to the Dead Rabbit, which is a bar here in New York City. Now you may have heard of it, you may have even been there. It's a very famous bar, well known for its cocktails. They call themselves the most awarded pub in the world, and after looking over their list of accolades, I have no reason to doubt that claim. They're located in Lower Manhattan, just a short walk from the Staten Island Ferry. It's a fairly unassuming looking place, so if you don't know it's there, you might just pass it on by. When you go in, it looks and feels like any number of Irish pubs in the neighborhood, but then they hand you, or rather you scan the code for their cocktail menu, and that's when you realize you're not in Kansas anymore. They have this amazing menu. Of course, they put their own spin on a lot of traditional drinks, but then they have these cocktails with some really interesting and in some cases downright bizarre flavor combinations. We had an Irish coffee martini, which falls into the first category, and a psycho killer, which squarely falls into the second. It had Irish whiskey, cacao nib-infused Campari, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, white crème de cacao, banana liqueur, and absinthe. Yeah, like what the what? I had no idea what to expect, but it was a real showstopper. Now, when I posted that picture online, a couple of people asked about the name of the bar, the Dead Rabbit. Well, according to their website, they named the bar after the Irish immigrant gang from the mid-1800s called the Dead Rabbits. The Dead Rabbits were involved in these turf wars in Lower Manhattan with other gangs, such as the Bowery Boys. And they were fueled by this Protestant and Catholic animosity. If this is starting to sound a little bit familiar to you, it may be because you've seen the film Gangs of New York, which is Martin Scorsese's film from 2002 that stars Daniel Day-Lewis and Leonardo DiCaprio. It's an excellent film, and if you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while, it's definitely worth going back and watching. But I'll warn you, it's a little bit gory. Well, actually, it's a lot gory. But hey, make yourself a psycho killer and it makes a perfect pairing for the Gangs of New York. So needless to say, this is a cocktail I really enjoyed. I did a screen grab of the menu, something that I'm inclined to do these days, with the intention that I would do a copycat version here at home, only to find out that I really didn't have to do a copycat version because the recipe and the instructions are pretty readily available online. I found versions both on liqueur.com and the Difford's Guide. They use the same ingredients, the same proportions, but they do call for different brands, which I'm guessing probably has something to do with promotional deals that they have in place. The only noticeable difference between the menu and the online version is that in the bar they served it in an old-fashioned glass on the rocks with a big hunk of ice, and the online version says to serve it up in a Nick and Nora glass. So I guess suit yourself. I actually prefer it on the rocks, so that's what we're going to do here. Now, I've made this a number of times here at home already, and I'm going to confess that none of my efforts were as good as the one I had at the Dead Rabbit. The one I was served at the bar was so well balanced, and every time I've made it here at home, I feel like the Campari is just a little too overpowering. I've played around with the proportions, and while I get it pretty close, I don't seem to get it exactly right. But I think the difference might be in the way that I infused the Campari. Now, the instructions say to steep 3 tablespoons of cacao nibs in 750 milliliters of Campari. That's a whole bottle. You steep it for an hour, then you strain out the cacao nibs and you have your infused Campari. I didn't want to do a whole bottle, so I scaled that down to a third, and I think that might be where the difference occurred. Cacao nibs don't really taste like chocolate, even though they have this really strong chocolate aroma. And what I noticed that they did to the flavor of the Campari isn't so much make it taste like chocolate or cocoa, but rather it really dials back that astringent quality that the Campari has. And so I think if I do this again, I might do more cacao nibs in that smaller amount, or I might let it steep for longer and see if I can get that Campari to mellow out even more. The other thing I should point out to you is that it calls for 2 dashes of absinthe, and I measured that out as about 1/2 of a bar spoon, which seemed to be right on the money. So now that you know all of that, let's go ahead and make our psycho killer. psycho killer from the dead rabbit. If you're enjoying these copycat make-up-at-home cocktails, then make sure to click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Until the next time, cheers! If you enjoyed the video, why not give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends? Feel free to leave your comments and click that subscribe button because there's a lot more Broadway Barfly to come.